Hi everyone, welcome again to another video of SAT Math Explained. Today our topic will be about probability and conditional probability. And that is within the problem solving and data analysis domain. So there's two more videos in problem solving and data analysis after this, and then we're going to move on to um, the four geometry focus skills, and then that will be the end of the SAT Math Explained series. If there's a specific topic you guys want me to go over in more depth, please let me know. Like if you guys have if you guys struggle, if someone struggles with factoring, let me know in the comments. I'll make a specific video for that. And yeah, that's it. Let's get started. So for these probability questions, what do you need to know? There are four main things that you need to know. First thing is you need to know how to reason with charts. Almost every single question will give you a chart with a lot of information, and you need to know how to extract the necessary information to answer the question. And then another thing to note is that if it asks you for a probability and it uses the word and, that means you multiply the two probabilities. So let's say that it asks you for what is the probability of pulling a square and a square and an object that is red. So you want a red square technically, but it's red and square. So you would multiply the probability of something being red by the probability of something being a square. So like you could do like if they're both 1/4 chance or 1 out of 4, you just multiply that. So the chance of getting a red square would be 1/16. And then on the other hand, if it asks you for or, you would add the probabilities. So let's say an example. What is the probability of pulling a red or blue marble? So right there, let's say there's a 1/4 chance of pulling a red marble, and then a 1/4 chance of pulling a blue marble. So then you would add those, and you'd have 1.5 chance to pull a red or blue marble. So that might pop up. You will. It says you will need previous skills. That is worded wrongly. You won't necessarily need previous skills. Rarely, maybe like I think like from the questions in the examples today, only one question will need previous skills, which is just solving for x. Everything else is mainly just understand the question, what does it want, the probability, and then use the chart to find the answer. So you technically won't need you will rarely need previous skills, but if you do, it won't most likely just be some basic algebra like solving for x. And in case this isn't clear for you guys, to find the probability, it's basically favorable outcomes divided by total outcomes. And this total outcomes is not always everything. It's not always like just the total amount of data. So let's say um I'll show an example later on, but basically it's not always the total outcomes you have to read in the question. Sometimes it's going to be the favorable outcomes. So let's say the red marbles within a certain bag, let's say. Like it's not the whole thing, it's like within a certain bag. And then you have to pay attention because that would change the number on the denominator. And then favorable outcome is just what the question is favoring. So what is it favoring? A red marble, blue marbles? Is it people who voted? Something like that. And then so that would be the favorable outcome divided by the total outcome, which again isn't always the total amount of people or the total amount of marbles, etc. So let's move on. That's it for what to know. I don't think I missed anything. If I did, I'll just go over it in the examples. And then how to solve. So this one, first step is what is the not what the probability. What probability is the question asking for? That's what I put. What probability the question is asking for? Understand what is the favorable outcome that it is asking for. No, does it say and, does it say or, is it just one thing? And what is the total outcomes, like within what group? Because it won't always be just everything. It might be asking within a certain year, a certain group. You have to pay attention for that. Oh, like I said right here, what is the outcome they want and within what total group? And then use the info in the chart to find. The chart will sometimes in some questions gonna overflow you with information. It might give you like 20 pieces of data, and then you only need 2 or 3 of them. So just make sure to understand how to read the graph to find the information you need. And like I said, it rarely pops up, but sometimes you need to apply previous skills like algebra to solve for the missing number. Today we're gonna have one example like that. So that is it for the procedure of what to know, how to solve. And let us move on to the examples. So as usual, for the examples, please make sure that you are trying the examples on your own first before that you are trying the examples before watching my explanation, because just watching my explanation gives you a false sense of understanding, which will harm you on test day. And as usual, we do 2 easy questions, 2 medium questions, 1 hard questions. And if you ever have any question or I might make a mistake, please let me know in the comments. And so yeah, let's just get started with the easy questions. So here we're given a chart with the number of high school students who completed summer internships, and it looks like it's comparing 2 high schools. So I forgot to mention this in the how to solve. Almost every single word problem in the SAT, almost every single one, just ignore almost the whole question. Just focus most of the times on the last question. Sorry, on the last sentence. So the last sentence starts here actually. So the question says, of the students who completed a summer internship in 2010. So if you look at the table, you see it's a bunch of years. So I know we're only going to focus on the year 2010. And it says, of the students who completed a summer internship in 2010, which of the following represents the fraction of students who were from Valley High School? So how many of the students were from Valley High School? So now, so what's the favorable outcome? The favorable outcome. So I'm just gonna put save is Valley High School. And what is the total? The total outcome within what group? It says the fraction of students. So the students is going to represent both high schools, Fall Hill and Valley. So we're going to be looking, sorry, we're going to be looking at the total, which is 140. So then from there, Valley, there was 65, according to the table in 2010, 65 students completed a summer internship. So then just 65 over 140. And then you might have to simplify, but always just check with the answer options. Right here, they are in unsimplified fraction, so you don't actually need to simplify it or change it to decimal. So the answer is B. That is the one that aligns with our answer. So that is it for the first question. Let's move on to this one. This one tells us that a total of 25 men registered for singing lessons. Again, you can just ignore all of this. But this kind of, I mean, this kind of does help because it tells us the total. But let's say you skipped over it, you could add these and then find the total. But then okay, so then the last sentence tells us if one of these singers is selected at random. So one of these singers, the total is sorry, what am I saying? The total outcome is everyone. It says of the following singers. If one of these singers. So we're talking about everyone. So we know that the denominator will be 25. And then what is the probability he is a baritone? So a baritone that shows up 10 times. There are 10 of them are baritones. So if you select one at random, it would be 10. 10 is the favorable outcome divided by 25, which is the total outcome, which was the because it tells us one of these singers. And then 10 divided by 25 is 0.4. You could have used Desmos for that if you needed to. So that is it for the easy questions. Like you guys see, if you just understand how to interpret the questions, understand how to get information from the charts, these questions are pretty much you can just solve them in a couple seconds. So then let us sorry. Okay, so let's move on to the medium questions. And this one tells us that the table below shows the number of state part. Sorry, I also have a habit of always wanting to read the information, but you don't need any of this. And then it asks if one of these state parts is selected at random. If one of the state parts is selected at random, so we're choosing out of all of them. What is the probability that it has camping facilities, but does not have bicycle paths? So right here, basically, when you move on from the easy to the medium questions, the only thing that really changes is that now you have like 2 variables basically. So you have like this one, like you have variable on top, then variable on the side, and you just read it the exact same way. So if one of these state parks is selected at random, so it's still if one of these parks, these are all state parks. So we're gonna show out the total. So the denominator, the total outcome is still the total. So the total would be 20 plus 5 plus 4 plus 8, which is 37. So divided by 37. And then what is the probability that it has camping facilities but does not have bicycle paths? So for that, you literally just look at the chart. So it has camping facilities. So right here, has camping facilities. So it's going to be 20 or 5. And then, but does not have bicycle paths. So does not have bicycle paths is this way. So the answer is 5. I don't know if my way is confusing, but basically, look at this. It has camping facilities, and then it has camping facilities. It does not have bicycle paths, so there's 5 of the state parks like that. So the answer is 5/37, which is option A. Again, if anything is confusing, just let me know in the comments, and I'll try to re-explain it, or maybe even make a whole video about it. So let's move on to the second one. This one again, you can just ignore all of this. And then it asks you, if one of these days on which there was no rain is selected at random, what is the probability the day was on a weekend, was a weekend day? So right here, this is one of the questions where you have to pay attention to the total outcome. So it says, if one of the days on which there was no rain is selected at random. So this is the, I broke my pen, but it'll work for now. So if one of these days under is selected at random. So because it's selected at random, sorry, because it says what there is no rain, it's not total. It's the total with no rain. So no rain, the total is 64. So the denominator will be 64. Okay, my pen broke. 64. So and then what is the probability the day was a weekend day? So the preferable outcome is that the day was a weekend. Within the group, there was no rain. So within there's no rain, we want it was a weekend day. So a weekend, that would be 16. So 16 is the number of weekend days where there was no rain. So 16 out of 64. You look at the answer options, they're actually simplified. You can put it into decimals if you need. It'll simplify it for you. Equals 1/4. 1/4, which is B. That is it for the medium questions. We can move on to the hard questions. This is the one with the extra skill, which is the algebra. So when you look at this, it might look confusing. This is something the SAT will always do on both the reading and writing section and the math section. They will use a lot of big words or jargon, which is just like words where you're not supposed to know what they mean. Like it's just gonna be big words to just throw you off, to confuse you. But if you just skip over it, it should be easier to understand, at least for me. So just skip to the last sentence. It says, if one of these people who is rhesus negative is chosen at random. So the total outcome, or the denominator, will be rhesus factor is negative. So we're just looking at the bottom part. The probability that the person has blood type B is 1/9. What is the value of X? So the probability that the person has blood type B is 1/9. So 1/9, and then the probability of the guy have is equal to, sorry, is equal to favorable favorable trait, or the favorable outcome, the one we're trying to get, the probability, is a person with blood type B. So the person with blood type B, he shows up 2 times, or it occurs 2 times in the rhesus negative factor. So you put 2 on top, and then on the bottom, it's going to be the total number in the rhesus negative factor. But like you see, there's the X value, which is what we're going to be solving. So the total outcome is just everything. Is just everything, all the number that the rhesus negative factor occurs. So 7 plus 2 plus 1 plus x. So that is 10 plus x. And then from there, you can solve for x. You can either plug this into decimals, it'll give you the answer, or you can solve it by hand. So you can start by cross multiplying. So 2 times 9 is 18. 18. And then 10 plus x times 1 is just 10 plus x, because anything times 1 is itself. So times 10 plus x. And then we're just going to isolate the x, so minus 10. Subtract 10 from both sides. And we cross multiply, if that wasn't clear, to remove the denominator so that we can work more easy. So minus 10, you get 8 is equal to x. Now I'm going to show you guys. So the answer would be 8 right here. Now I'm going to show you guys, let's say you wanted to use decimals. So, does it show properly? Okay. So if you wanted to use decimals, you would still have to first thing find the relationship, the 2/10 plus x. So the favorable outcome divided by the total people in the race is negative, is equal to 1/9, which is given. And then we want to solve for x, we just plug into the calculator 10 plus x, and that is equal to 1/9. And you see right here, this is something I always like to like to say in many, sorry, something I repeat in many videos. Basically, sometimes Desmos for some reason is just like the operation is just too difficult for it to just highlight it for you. So right here you can see that it is 8, but on some questions it's going to be a decimal and it's going to be a free response like this. So you need the exact answer. So what do you do here? You separate it into two equations. So you have 2 over 10 plus x, that is one equation, and then y is equal to 1/9. And then you find where they intersect, and then you can see that it doesn't show because they're almost the same thing because it's a horizontal asymptote, but they intersect right here at point 8, and it does highlight that for you, 8 comma 0.111. So x is equal to 8, which is how you would use Desmos. Both ways work, and honestly, they might take the exact same time because you might just plug it in the first time, realize that it won't give you the exact answer, and then you have to separate it. So it's honestly up to preference, but just always remember for the if it shows you like how it showed right here, for some reason it just doesn't highlight the x-intercept, doesn't highlight the point where it crosses 0. What do? You just separate it into two lines. And right here wasn't a problem because it was at exactly 8. But in other problems, it will be a decimal. And then if you're just off by one number, you will get the question wrong, which is not good. And so yeah, that is it for today's video. That is it for today's video. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys have any questions or just a question about today's topic or just a request for a future video, please let me know in the comments. And again, there's 2 videos left for problem solving that analysis. Then we're going to move on. I think there's 1 video left maybe, but then it's 1 or 2 videos left for this. Then we're going to move on to geometry. Please consider subscribing, liking, clicking the bell so you guys know when I upload, and sharing it with so that other people can benefit. And thank you guys for watching. Yeah, thank you.